So they really said on live television that the reason why young girls are not wanting to get married anymore is because there aren't enough fairy tale movies.
Is it true that there are less romantic movie has caused a lot of young girls not to get married or not want the romantic, the fairy tale ending anymore? Happily ever after. Let's talk about it. Hey, beautiful people, how you are doing today? It's your girl Destiny here, and welcome to my channel. How have you all been? Hope you guys are doing great. So today's video, I want to talk about a very interesting conversation. So apparently, it's been said that the birth rate is dropping, the marriage rate is dropping, even the boyfriend rate of people having a boyfriend is dropping, and even younger girls, teenage girls don't believe in the fairy tale, and people are the media is the main media is mainstream media is blaming it on there's no fairy tale movies like it used to be back then in the days, and that's why has led young girls not to desire romantic relationship or the so-called fairy tale or happily ever after. And this has struck entire conversation what the power of the media and what those fairy tale movie we watch, what it has caused and all that. And some people are saying that they don't believe that the media it's probably stems up from high cost of living, men weaponizing incompetent, not just media. But anyway, guys, let's go check out this story. People's a lot of other women's opinion why the birth rate, the romance rate is dropping, and young girls don't want to get married or even have children or be in a relationship. Why this is, and then we'll come back and talk more.
The fairy tale, America's teen girls are not buying the marriage dream. New Pew research shows only 61% of 12th grade girls expect to marry somebody. That's a sharp drop from 83% in 1993. And for the first time, more boys than girls see marriage in their future, 74% of them. Experts say fewer fairy tale movies and a bigger emphasis on education, success, and independence are shifting what happily ever after means. The survey also shows a decline in expected parenthood, with only 48% of teens thinking they'll likely have children, down from 64% in 1993. Be sure to download Fox Local for live streaming, news, and more.
So they really said on live television that the reason why young girls are not wanting to get married anymore is because there aren't enough fairy tale movies, and that too many shows and movies are focused on career, self-improvement, and overall personal happiness. They said that that's the reason, not the economic conditions, not the glaringly unfair realities of marriage and motherhood, not all the women coming online and accidentally exposing how terrible their lives are as a result of weaponized incompetence. It's not that. In fact, a lot of the research is pointing towards social media as the biggest driver for this kind of movement and change, because when your eyes are open, it's clear to see. Because there aren't enough fairy tale movies.
Did they lie though? Honestly, did they? Because yes, the reason women aren't wanting to get married anymore and the reason young girls aren't dreaming about marriage is partially due to the fact that we no longer have as much media that is pushing women to romanticize marriage and babies with a man at a young age. We now have Disney princesses who are fighting their battles and they're not getting married to men. They're not dreaming of their prince coming to rescue them. And I think what people don't realize is that Hollywood invented romance. Hollywood invented romance to convince women to continue dating men once women got the right to vote, once women started working outside of the home, once women got the right to have bank accounts, once women got the right to buy their own home, to have a credit card, etc. We needed the society needed a way to keep pushing women to marry these men. And historically, women had always married men for financial reasons. They had been literally barred from being equal members of society. Therefore, they needed to be married to a man in order to just exist, just have any kind of access to money, property, food, clothing, housing, etc. Now, women can have that themselves. They don't need a husband in order to have that. Why are women still marrying men? Because for the most part, women still dream of this idea of romantic love, which the majority of women we know do not find with the men that they marry.
Sure.
Now that our media is starting to be more girl boss oriented and less, trad wife oriented for young girls, we have less of this brainwashing. It's only natural that we have a young generation of girls and young women who are no longer interested in men, because why would they be? They no longer need to marry a man in order to have a bank account. They no longer need to marry a man in order to have food on their table and clothing on their backs and a shelter over their heads. And they no longer believe in the fantasy of romantic love. They know, because they've heard enough from women and other girls who speak out about their experiences, that finding a long-term romantic love with a man is nearly impossible. They know that there are a lot of other things in this life that can provide
Happiness.
much more guaranteed happiness than a relationship with a man can. So why would young women and girls still be wanting to get married to men when they grow up, when they know they don't need men financially, and they don't want them for romance because they know that this fairy tale romance doesn't exist? So they're not wrong when they say that the reason why young girls no longer are dreaming of marriage when they grow up is partially due to the fact that Hollywood is no longer trying to brainwash them into it at the same rate that they used to be, right? Like, yes, there is still brainwashing, but not at the same rate. And by the way, this is why I talked about the topic of Tyler and Wednesday and how abusive that relationship was for a long time, right? Like, I think I talked about that for like 2 or 3 months on my account. Why? Because so many people kept saying, it's just a TV show, it's just fantasy. Media has real life impacts.
Yep.
Media, especially with young people, impressionable young people who are learning about the world, media does have real life consequences.
Sure.
And so when you have one of the most popular shows on Netflix, the largest television streaming platform in the world, promoting this idea that a man who throws a teenage girl out a window somehow loves her in a weird, twisted way, that is spreading a very fucked up, dangerous message to a lot of young women and girls. So anyway, that's why I talk about media, right? That's why I talk about feminism in media. That's why I analyze media from a feminist perspective, because media matters.
100%.
So they really said on live television that the reason why young girls are not wanting to get married anymore is because there aren't enough fairy tale movies, and that too many shows and movies are focused on career, self-improvement, and overall personal happiness. They said that that's the reason. Not the economic conditions, not the glaringly unfair realities of marriage and motherhood, not all the women coming online and accidentally exposing how terrible their lives are as a result of weaponized incompetence.
Multiple things can be true at once. Understanding this is the key to understanding the plethora of human experiences, including but not limited to the political arena. And just so we're very clear, marriage and motherhood are political. One of the many mistakes that adults make, particularly in the United States, is believing that if we are aware that such a thing called propaganda exists, then we are innately immune to and resistant to any form of propaganda which may come our way. This couldn't be further from the truth, since real power comes in both a hard and a soft variety. Geopolitically and internationally, hard power looks like the US military, while soft power looks like religion and religious missionaries. Domestically, hard power looks like the federal and state governments, while soft power looks like the various forms of media that we're exposed to, including but not limited to fairy tales. There was a time in the United States in the not-so-distant past where hard power alone was enough to usher millions of women and girls into the arenas of marriage and motherhood. They couldn't legally own property or manage their own finances. They were barred from most forms of work outside of domestic labor, and they were barred from most institutions of higher learning. And even if they weren't, getting a job after having a degree was next to impossible in male-controlled and male-dominated sectors. So for these women and girls, securing a husband was how she secured a future for herself. And the price that she paid for that was unfettered use of her body as both a vessel of pleasure and a means of procuring children for himself. And that's the role that she had to play. You get provision, and in exchange, I get use of your body and the spoils of your domestic labor. As women made more strides, shout out to early feminists, there came a launch of the soft power, the introduction of romance, love between a husband and a wife, a relationship that was more than transactional. And of course, this was framed in such a way that it largely benefited the man. Don't go looking for the best provider that you can possibly find. Don't think about the financial futures of your children. Think with your heart, not with your head. And that's what true love is. And next thing you know, we had the launch of these advertisements about engagement rings and wedding rings and a diamond being forever. And so many women were talking about not necessarily finding a husband, but specifically falling in love, finding their true love, marrying their soulmate. And then as time went on and the country went through various recessions and economic inflations, the cost of living rose. And lawmakers realized it was getting harder and harder for these men to be sole providers to wives and children, particularly in larger families. So what did they do? They convinced women that we could have it all. Of course, you can do all of the domestic labor, the housework, the child rearing, and have a 9-to-5 as well. You're a modern woman, aren't you? You're a strong woman, aren't you? When women veritably flooded the workplace after they were allowed to get higher education and be in certain work sectors, many of them very quickly realized that they could only have it all if the husband whom they were now splitting the financial load with was willing to split the domestic load with them as well, and many men were not. Because while we were told to shoot for the stars and get it all, the men were told to keep on as they have been. That once you reach a certain age, you're rewarded with a prize, a woman whose body you can use at your own discretion. And then after more time goes by and you're in a more financially secure place, she will reward you with life decorations, aka children, to ornament yourself with. And the little girls who weren't being sold the you can have it all were being sold find your true love, find your husband, largely through fairy tales that were drummed into our heads from toddlerhood. We were told to go out and find your knight in shining armor, find your prince. This is largely the propaganda that was sold to Gen X and on a larger scale, millennials and Gen Z. Meanwhile, the boys are sold propaganda that a real man is a man who either works with his hands or enters into an inherently violent field, so construction or law enforcement or military. And of course, here and there, they would sprinkle tales of the suave, cool player millionaire or the man of the people billionaire. So in that way, propagandizing us, especially the boys, to worship the very same wealthy class that's exploiting the working class. The reality is things like income disparity, domestic labor disparity, abuse in marriages, etc., are nothing new. In fact, there have been objectively worse times in this country alone to be a wife and to be a mother than in the year 2025. Social media has done a lot to dispel a lot of the propaganda that we have been fed, because all social media platforms at their core are about one thing and one thing only: sharing. Sharing your ideas, sharing your opinions, sharing facts, sharing skills, and sharing experiences. And when multiple people from various walks of life, various races, ethnicities, nationalities, various age groups are having similar experiences, it's harder and harder to pretend that these are isolated incidents. This is another weapon of propaganda, consistently silencing the voices of and not telling the stories of oppressed groups. That way, when someone complains, we can point and laugh and say that they're silly, they're stupid, they're crazy, they should have chose better. Fairy tales did a number on my generation, but at the same time that those fairy tales were being put out, there were millions of women in this country alone who were suffering silently in what they thought would be a journey of parenthood that they found to be largely or solely their responsibility. A lot of women were suffering silently in what they thought would be partnerships or at least companionships, only to realize that those men had nothing but disdain for them and would routinely abuse them, verbally, physically, or even sexually. Again, abuse and inequality in marriages is nothing new. We had laws on the books in the United States that were revoked as late as the 90s, saying that it wasn't illegal for a man to force himself on his wife, or that a man should be allowed to and his wife. I am older than laws protecting women from marital and in this country. So why were so many women and girls happily signing up for the endeavors of marriage and motherhood? Why were so many of them staying in situations where they knew they were being exploited and abused? Because of the fairy tales. And now the hard arm of power is gearing up. Our reproductive rights are being taken away. We're seeing more and more that women are losing access to certain career fields that are very high paying, that could make them independently, financially stable, or wealthy. We are losing the ability to say what can and cannot happen in our own wombs. And so, yes, it is time for soft power to make a resurgence. If these people are going to course correct the damage that they did in making us think that we had options, making us think that we were worthy, and correct those flaws in Gen Alpha. And it's not going to take very long, honestly. In 5-10 years or less, they can make these young girls worship these fairy tales and worship this idea of marriage that has never measured up to reality in the same way that many of us did when we were little girls. Please, please, please do not underestimate the power of media in getting lambs to voluntarily line up for slaughter.
Please let me know what you think about this conversation down in the comment section. But as always, keep it respectful. You're on this channel. We're allowed to disagree, but do it in a very respectful way. So go ahead, feel free, share your thought. Love to know what you guys think. So I do agree. I do that 100% agree that media played a major role on a lot of the glamorization of being a wife, being a girlfriend, having a child, having the white fins. I know that media played a strong role. A lot of the time, I feel like as people, especially when we talk about how a lot of women will be indoctrinated and will be programmed to want this life, even though this life does not serve us, even though this life is hectic, it's stressful, does not benefit us, but will be made to so desire it. And there are still so many women out there that still desire to be a wife, to be a mother, but I also feel like, yes, media back in those days really pushed out a lot of fairy tale. I remember as a little girl, I watched a lot of Disney and all that. And yes, I do remember like, oh, my prince charm, my prince will just come and save me. My prince just kiss me and I wake up. Da, 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 da. Oh, my prince will just come and get me out of this place and all that. So a lot of the time, it was also used as an escape route for those little girls that had insecurity, trauma going on at home, and just wish that one day the prince will come and then it will be happily ever after. Because and that has kept a lot of younger girls, I would say, in my generation. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm a millennial. I just turned 41 this year. Um, to really, even though things were not going good at home, when we see someone out, a man outside, and just say we love us and treat us even a tiny bit nice, we now hold on to it and say, this is our prince, this is our shining armor, he has come to rescue us. We can build a life with that. And that's why a lot of women end up being with potential rather than seeing white words in front of it. And also, I do believe that the media has pushed it so hard that it has really embedded into us. And we all know the media is controlled by the patriotic system, so it's really embedded into us, and it's taken a lot of unlearning. And this is why I also feel like social media too, like I said, media is a very powerful thing. Social media too has also played a role in deconstructing a lot of those ideas, and people sharing their story and being honest, being open about their experience. I have a BSc degree in communication, and they say one of the way for you to work on someone's mind, it's what they consume, what they see with their eyes, what they listen to shapes who they are as a person. And I feel like those early days, Pretty Woman, Snow White, all those movies and Disney shows and cartoons, Cinderella, all those things made us to take a lot of BS from men. And then we still did not say anything wrong with what our aunties are, because imagine Beauty and the Beast, a beast that I heard you all stage and then you fell in love with it. Even when you listen to old music, old R&B, you see very toxic things talking about how he cheated, he came back, that's because he loves me. Even listen to The Boy Is Mine, like two girls fighting for a guy. So there was a lot of media out there that made women to settle for the bare minimum that does not serve them. And I feel like that has shaped a lot of us in that generation. I'll speak for my generation because that's what I know, that's what I was raised. Has shaped us to feel like struggle love is the thing, holding a man down is the thing, weaponizing competence, you're supposed to cook clean and you're supposed to have it all. And I remember in my generation we were told we can have it all, we can still be that wife that can cook clean and do have the children and still go out there and go be a boss bitch and have the work and being corporate. They made us have all that, but we did not, because we did not see women. I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, I would say millennials were kind of the generation that had that you can be a mom, a wife, and also be a boss bitch at the corporate place and still to have your 9 to 5 and still have your business and all that. We saw that idea, and now we're in the face now where the same media now using social media, women are saying that uh it's headache. It's not worth it. It doesn't work. La, la, la. It kills my business. It kills my career. Oh no, it kills my marriage. Oh, the man did not treat me fairly. And the fact that as women we are sharing our story, I love this for us. And this is why, like on this channel, I will continue sharing the story because I feel like a lot of us went into marriage. A lot of us went into having children without realizing exactly what we're getting ourselves into. A lot of women still don't know what they are getting themselves into when they say they want to get married, they want to have children. And this is why here on this channel, I'm very passionate about it. Letting women know, yes, you may want it, but ask yourself, why do you really want it? Do you really want it because that's what has been embedded in you by society and media, or you really want it because that's what you really want out of you? A lot of women, you see them, they'll tell you, especially when they have children, they'll tell you that, oh, nobody told me. Nobody told me. But the truth is that we know a lot of people that have had children. So how come nobody's telling you that this thing is a life and death situation? This thing, you're going to lose yourself in it because you're going to take your, you get it? So I feel like the more that we keep having this conversation, the more media is one of the powerful tools, and that is why you see a lot of government, a lot of powerful people try to control the media, try to use the media, try to own the media, because whether you like it or not, media is one of the most powerful things you can use to control people, manipulate people, get people informed, get people to think. And I feel like social media comes to this one. That's why it almost seems like things are going crazy. Social media got to the place where it's a one-on-one experience. It does not have to go through an editor. It does not have to go through a publisher. People are sitting in front of the camera and sharing it live, direct, and we are all seeing it. We're all seeing it play out, and everybody sharing their story, sharing their opinion, their thoughts, their lessons, and people are learning. And I feel like that is what has led to the place where young girls right now, they don't want to go into it. They don't want to, because they're seeing it. They are seeing it. They are seeing, okay, a woman that has shoes herself, a woman that centered herself, what did she get out of it? A woman that centered man, what does she get out of it? They are seeing the examples, and now it's clicking. It is clicking, and that's why the birth rate is low, the marriage rate is low, even the relationship rate is dropping drastically. Anyway, guys, you guys let me know what you guys think about this entire conversation down in the comment section. But as always, keep it respectful. Share this video with somebody that you want to be part of the conversation, because that's what we do here. We have banging conversation. So go ahead, feel free to share this video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, smash the like button, because this helps YouTube to push up my content for more people to see, and that'll be you supporting this channel and this career. So go on and do that. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Deuces.